Problem is one of them turned out to be a scam. I can explain that later. That's long.
All right, I'll call the meeting to order.
Otherwise,
Please
share
stand
it.
and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
That's not close.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you everyone for being here. Let's move on to approval of the agenda.
I'll move, we approve the agenda.
Second. Okay, there'll be one small change. Lafayette won't be here today because of an illness, so we'll strike them from the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Comments from the public, Mr. Superintendent.
We received one comment from the public for this meeting. The commenter requested an education improvement plan be added as an agenda item to the meeting. It is Senator Yee who makes this request again. We have met with her for lunch, and I think there is another potential meeting. And as requested when we were meeting together for lunch, she wanted the plans mailed to her. It's very difficult to put it all together at a crowded table, right? So we are sending that to her as well. And we will continue to engage with her when we can find another day.
Excellent.
That's it.
Okay. Moving on to E1 Superintendent Evaluation. We're going to discuss that process. So what's kind of on the here is to review and discuss the superintendent evaluation process and evaluation form. We are looking to appoint 2 board members to update the evaluation form and bring it back to the next meeting for approval. Do you guys have any questions or comments or? Assuming filling in a volunteering spirit. Go ahead, Roger. You want to do it? Yeah, baby. Okay. That's fine. I'll let it go for now. Anybody else want to be part of this evaluation process?
Why not?
There
Let's
we
have fun
go.
with it.
All right, so should we vote on who's going to do it? All right, so I guess we're going to nominate Roger Nyquist and Sean Taylor to work with the superintendent evaluation process. All in favor? I guess we need a motion for that. I guess I just did, but I need a second, I suppose.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Superintendent comments.
So I will keep them relatively brief tonight. We are setting out on the budget process on Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock here, which is a basic familiarizing new members with the budget process and the role of the budget committee. We do not have our first official meeting where we present the actualities of the budget until May 15th, which means that over the next 2 weeks, we will be busy finalizing the budget. We will be ahead of that. It'll be roughly around May 5th that we will be finalizing the budget that we will present to you, send it to print, and bring it back for you guys. Currently, the district is bargaining with the GAEA, the teachers union, and we have had 3 meetings, I believe. Those meetings have been good in tone, and of course, there's a lot of things to work on within this contract. I think there's some element of both organizing and cleaning it up, as well as just working to address issues that either side sees. We have a request from one of the board members to follow up a little bit on the listening session and the OSHA complaint. I just wanted to make you guys roughly familiar with what Salem Kaiser had happen and then has the steps that they have taken. The first thing is there were the Occupational Health and Safety, Workplace Safety Commission did receive some sort of a comment, and they went to Salem Kaiser, and they worked in a more of a mediated process, for the number one reason, which was that it was difficult for them to want to describe children as a workplace hazard. And so that then created a more negotiated piece of work. There were several findings that were found to be serious and Salem Kaiser needed to address. One of which was safety committees, that they would hold regular meetings. Making sure that people were aware of the possible dangers of their workplace. In other words, just notification, what that looked like. Training to anticipate, avoid. Those things were largely the result of in-school settings where kids were placed and a lot of unfilled positions, which sometimes led other school staff into working directly with students who may or may not have had a little more dangerous situation. So as they have addressed those, there is work ongoing. One of the key points is the feedback and the coaching that is going to be required of people to move people to change the way they operate, things like that. Because at times, someone without training can, without intending to accelerate an incident, those kind of things. And so there's a lot of work we're going to need to do to define that. And then we are putting together a safety review committee when there is an accident, that we would work not just with special ed directors or school administrators, but also our risk management, Luke Chiquea here, so that we have a process that can address what we're doing. One of the things that was stated in there, a recommendation, not a violation, recommendation of best practice was that Salem Kaiser needs to provide more space, and that would alleviate some of the concerns. And I'm not sure that they have an answer yet, any more than any other school district does, with the cost of facilities being what they are. So the big dates are May 2nd, we will be sharing economic offers with the teachers and they with us. And then May 15th, we'll have our first budget meeting. So we'll be working towards those dates. That's all I have.
Marvelous. Anybody have any questions? All right, board member reports. Sean, anything?
I don't have anything today.
Ryan?
Nothing for me.
Roger? Pete?
Just say that we've had a couple middle school grade committee meetings. Sean and I have done that. I can't tell you we're getting to where we want to be yet, but we're talking about it. Hopefully we can get to actually talking about how we do it. You know, the idea that we're going to do the same thing is just unacceptable to me. So we're getting there, and we're moving forward.
And I don't have anything tonight. So Hadley, you are up.
So Model UN had their conference from the 11th to the 13th at U of O, and I heard it was pretty successful. This year, West was representing Yemen. Environmental Club had a coast trip on the 13th. The 4 students that went visited Hatfield Marine Science Center and did a park cleanup at Yaquina Bay State Park. They also recently had a planting on Sunday. Interact Club had a parking lot cleanup on the 20th, and the parking lots are some of the most littered areas at West, so it was nice for students to take time and help make the campus a little nicer. Latinx Club invites all GAPS families to a family movie night on May 9th. There will be pizza and agua frescas, activities and games in the commons before the movie, and then at 6 in the APAC, La Misma Luna, means under the same moon, will play in Spanish with English subtitles. Tennis had meets against Lebanon, Central, Silverton recently, with the boys meet at West against South tomorrow and the girls at South. The boys were at Corvallis. For golf, the boys were at Corvallis on the 15th and today played at Crescent Valley. The girls golfed at home on the 15th and were at Corvallis today. Track and field has scheduled league meets on the 24th of this month and May 1st. Baseball has been on a winning streak, most recently playing Woodburn, Lebanon, and Central with a game today against Central, and they will play Silverton on Wednesday. Softball most recently played Central, Silverton, South, and Corvallis with a game today against Crescent Valley and McKay on Wednesday. Senior awards are on April 30th, where seniors will be recognized for their academic excellence, such as department awards, GPA, and CTE completers. The dodgeball tournament is finally happening. May 3rd is when teams of co-ed 6 players will go against each other to win a variety of prizes donated by local businesses. Senior all-night party tickets are on sale, and if you're interested in supporting the Class of 24's party, you can sign up online, Happy's Car Wash, and from April 19th to May 3rd, 50% of the fundraiser wash proceeds go to West Albany Senior all-night party. And the results for the If I Were Mayor contest were announced, and this year there was a West Albany winner for the high school level.
Okay, moving on to H1 audit report. Ms. Jane.
So Glenn and Corey are on their way to present on the audit.
So do you want to just go ahead and we'll skip and come back to that in a few minutes?
That'd be great.
All right, you got it. Is Lafayette ready?
Not here, remember?
Oh, that's right, not here, sorry. Yes, school, Waverly, excuse me.
Like to introduce Principal Tabitha Cornelson in her first year. She had previously been behavior specialist or TOSA?
I was an instructional coach.
Instructional coach TOSA at the same school. And I know that she has brought enthusiasm and we're lucky to have her. Take off.
Thank you. All right. Our mission at Waverly is we will work to develop critical thinking skills and focus on the values of respect, perseverance, and compassion. Our vision is everyone at Waverly Elementary School will contribute to a safe environment and an academic learning community. And that's me in that star costume. Just saying. Okay. Our we have 0.4 Native American and 2 or more is 8.8%. Our staff is a little bit, we have more white staff members, but we are becoming more diverse and we have some represented in each of the categories, which is exciting. Oh, and this picture at the top is the staff when we had fun one day and we all dressed like one of our teachers. It was twin day and he had no idea. This is our school profile from last year. We are working on this. Can't teach them if they're not there. So we had 44% regular attenders last school year. Our points of pride and promise. We are part of the attendance pilot program, support from LBL ESD. In fact, we meet every other week and we figure out ways to support our students and get them to school. And so we actually have a really great system set up by my awesome dean that's in the back row over there. And he's really organized and we figure out who we can help get to school. And my coaches are mentors for them as well. We have Boys and Girls Club satellite program on site, which is really exciting. And I know we're getting a new building on site as well. And it's great to see the kids there learning and having fun after school. It's really made a difference for us. Our Spirit of Giving program is something that we're really, we really care about and we're really excited about. Every year we get donations from the community and staff, and we let every student take home an item for every single person in their family. They cannot choose something for themselves though, because we're teaching them about giving to others. We have smart readers that come to our school every Thursday and read with our students, and some of our 5th graders also read with our younger students. We are decreasing in our behavior trackers. This has been a lot of work this year. We're meeting every 6 weeks on behavior and academics, which says on the other side of the MTSS for both. We didn't have that before for our behavior, and now we are, and we're able to meet and talk about how we're going to support our students and help decrease our trackers. We have learning walks where teachers can go and see other teachers learning. So if they're interested in small reading groups and making those better, we set those up so that they can go and see other teachers who are really good at it. I mentioned the mentors. The attendance pilot, we have mentors with that, and that's my coaches and Dean and myself, along with other people. And we check in with students daily to make sure that they know we care about them coming to our school. And we do see it making a difference every day. So we've had some really fun family nights at our school. Like we did the masked reader where they had to guess who was under the mask reading to them. And we had other ones like OSU came and did a science and engineering night and a math night with a bunch of games the kids really enjoyed. We do QTEL lessons are taught by ILT and tried out in the classroom. So my staff turned over quite a bit this year. It's like 50% new staff. And so a lot of them weren't trained in QTEL. So ILT is really taking that on to teach them at staff meetings so that they can try out different lessons in their classrooms. And we see like teachers that have never experienced it just getting in there and trying it and getting their kids talking, and it's really great to see. We have champs in all areas, so kids know the expectations, and we go over those a lot. Our community has really stepped it up. We don't have a PTC, a parent club, at our school yet, and so our staff has really been working hard to get community involvement, and we've gotten a lot of support for like our jog-a-thon and snacks for kids and even some meals for teachers at conferences, which is really great. And our staff goes above and beyond. They're always willing to help support our students. They'll do anything. I work with a great group of people. And something else we're really proud of is we're closing the gap with our subgroups with a focus on quality interactions and academic rigor. So I'll touch on that a little bit more in a moment. So our focal student groups is our economically disadvantaged, BIPOC, students with disabilities, and our English language learners, because we noticed that there was a gap between them and our overall classrooms when we started our SIP a few years ago. But we are closing that gap, which you'll see in a moment. We have our attendance for regular attenders is currently 47%. We put that 0.01 up there so you can see we're moving up. And then we continue to struggle to get them to school. Like I said, we are an attendance pilot school, and we're really working hard just like all of our other schools as well. Substitutes, we continue to struggle to find certified and classified substitutes. More classified than certified, but still certified is an issue at Waverly. I've spent many days subbing this year. Our PTC, like I said, we don't have a parent club. And our playground condition, most of our referrals or trackers, behavior trackers, are from the classrooms, but we have 12% of them are from our playground, which is in pretty poor condition. We had purchased a program to help us have like it to be more engaging and more peaceful, but we can't really put that down yet because our blacktop is not in great condition. So that's something that we need to work on. Our student mental health is also one of our biggest challenges. Our students just really struggle. They're from poverty, incarcerated parents, insecure housing. They really have a hard time, and that's where my counselor is very busy, and so are all of us just trying to be there for our students. All right, so our SIP goals, our first one was by May 2024, we will see an increase in the number of students who rate their sense of belonging, safety, and support at school as high based on student surveys. So we did this survey, and actually it was really great to see that our students do feel like they belong, they're safe and supported, and that's our goal. And so that made me very excited when we got those results, and we'll do it again in about a month. And our goal with that was we're planning and conducting at least 3 family events, which I kind of mentioned already. You can see the masked readers And what's even great about that is 2 of those masked readers are subs that are always in our building. They're retired teachers, and the kids were able to even guess who they were. So it was really fun. We have the math games there and then OSU Science Night. We identify student climate survey and implement it 2 times a year, monitor and adjust systems, and attend all foundations trainings like the one tomorrow. Our goal number 2 is by May 2024, the median classroom will score at a level 3. This is based on our QTEL rubric, and this is on academic rigor. So we don't want anybody in the level 1. Our goal is to be at level 3. As you can see, the first line on October is where we were at the beginning of the year. We're slowly moving up, and hopefully when we do our data walk again in June, we move up even more. Like I said, again, a lot of our teachers haven't been trained in QTEL, so we're working on that.
I have a question.
Yes.
On the last
back.
graph, what is significant blue and yellow?
So I actually meant to mention that. The colors mean nothing. They used to be like every other one just to break it up, but they just keep moving around, so now they're not in that order. No problem. So to do that, we set up the learning walks, like I mentioned before, for teachers or to see other teachers do the QTEL tasks and show what works to increase academic rigor within their classrooms. When we conduct the walkthroughs, we use the rubric 3 times a year, and we give them feedback with that rubric so they know what they're doing well and what they need to work on. Each coach focuses on, so I have 2 instructional coaches. One works with K2 and one works with 3-5. And so they're able to really support our teachers more. And then they also support with the implementation of the new ELA curriculum. And the goal number 3 is very similar, but this one is focused on sustained reciprocal dialogue, which is quality interactions. We use the same rubric, but it has an academic rigor side and a quality interaction side. And so we, once again, want them to be at the 3 moderately successful or higher, and nobody in 1. We're still working on that, but we are moving up just like before. And with that, did I miss? Oh, here's our subgroups with that as well. So remember at the beginning, I mentioned that something we're very proud of is we are closing the gap. So when they're all together, that means that they are all on the same spot on the rubric. If there's a break, like a line going down, that means that the students with like an IEP isn't with their overall class or whatever's below that line. So we're working with those teachers to support those students. But a couple of years ago, all of them were big gaps, and so we're seeing that close, and that's exciting for us. And so our priority actions are very similar. We're supporting teachers with incorporating those tasks in their classroom. We're conducting the walkthroughs. We're setting up the learning walks. We use ILT, does a QTEL task at staff meetings. They teach it, and then they have the teachers practice it, and then we come back and talk about it each staff meeting. And then we provide professional development and work with teachers in their classrooms. So core and instructional strategies, our high leverage strategies that we're using are the QTEL tasks, strategic partnerships and groups. We use formulaic expressions. Those are an entry point for students to know, like to be able to say something if they don't know how to get started. We have planning and collaborating with grade level teams. They check for understanding. We explain model content, provide feedback to students. And we know our teachers are doing these things because we do the data snaps 3 times per year. We have weekly walkthroughs. My coaches, my dean, and myself walk through classrooms every week and check every classroom. And then we send out that data that we gather in a weekly newsletter so they can see how they're doing as a school overall and what we need to improve on. We have principal coaches support during PLC, and we meet every 6 weeks to go over student data for our behavior and our academics. Next year, Our goals are going to be changing a little bit. We'll be using the QTEL within our goals, but our goals will be more with like a goal on literacy and math. Our math data is from in fall, we had 5% at grade level. But now we're at 16% at grade level in the winter. We're still working really hard. As you can see, we are decreasing that red. So that's with math. And in reading, we had 12% of students at grade level in the fall, and now we have 26% in winter. And once again, we're reducing that red. Oops. So in our hallways, we have different fun bulletin boards, and this was one we had up for the month of February, and it's reasons why we love Waverly, and students and staff could put their reasons up there, and these were a couple of ones that I thought were pretty great. The first one's just like all the reasons are just all the staff, every single one. Ms. Nelson said she loves her students and her coworkers. This one made me laugh. It said that it's a first grader, and they said that they love me and the tree in their classroom. It was a decoration. They love school because it's perfect. This fifth grader says the two things they love at Waverly is the teachers and staff are really nice, and they love their friends. And though our building is space themed, and so I thought it was kind of cool that the last heart is that what they love about Waverly is it's a safe space, and they made it space theme because we always want our students to feel safe. Some other things is a second grader said, I've been here since preschool and I want to stay until the end of fifth grade because this is the best school and Mrs. Cornelson's the best principal. A first grader said, I wish this school went until high school because I never want to leave. This is the best school. Love those first graders. This first grader said, I want to work here. It's the best. So we're going to get that application going. A fourth grader, we do pizza attendance lunch to incentivize them to come to school. And this fourth grader said, I like pizza. I earn it by coming to school every day, except 2 days. They're very honest. We have the things I like about Waverly is lunch, recess, and I also like math. That's a fifth grader. Another fifth grader said the staff is great. He actually said it like the tiger, great. And the last fifth grader said the family nights are a lot of fun and I like going to them. So we have a lot of things we're working on at Waverly, but it feels like the morale and the students' sense of belonging are high, and that's what we're proud of. Any questions?
Yeah, I got a couple. So your goals are pretty different than your colleagues. I'm sure you know that.
Yes.
Okay. And you said you're going to change them next year.
Yes,
To be
next
more like
year.
your colleagues.
Yes.
I think it's a bad idea. You're the only one that's come in here and shown us instruction, right? And you're measuring instruction in the classroom and whether teachers are engaging. If you improve the instruction, the test scores will come up. I think your colleagues should do what you're doing, not the other way around. I don't know if that's your call or not. But I think you might want to explain a little bit. How do you gather the data for goal 2 and 3? Because I think I know, but I just like to hear a little better of how you're picking up that data. And those boxes represented teachers, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
they
so
represent the class. They represent the classroom. So what we do, and hold on, I can go back to one of those. We go in, there's my coaches, myself, my dean, and if our ELD teacher is available, we'll have her go in with us. We each will look at the classroom as a whole, but we also will look at different categories. So I might be focused on students with an IEP, while another person might be focused on ELD, and so on. And so then we find those students and we go and we write down what they're saying. We write down everything we can write down about what they're saying, what they're doing, why they're learning. And then we come back together and we look at where they land on the rubric. Are they having those deep conversations? Are they showing that the assignment does it have academic rigor? So we really look at that and go through the rubric and pick out where they are, all the different categories. We discuss how the class was overall. And then we share that with staff. We give them back that rubric and we give them a wish and a star, something we saw that was really, really great and something that we would like to see them try to improve.
So you're measuring the quality of instruction based on what the kids are doing in the classroom.
Yes.
Where did you come from? Yeah, I heard you were at TOSA here last year, but
I
where were
was
you
at I was at Waverly.
before that, though? How long have you been at Waverly?
This is my 3rd year
Where were you before that?
at Clover Ridge and Meadow Ridge.
You've always been in Albany?
No, I came from California.
That's what I was getting at. Okay. Anyway, yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, I wish this is what I've been kind of trying to get us at all year long is what are we looking at instruction wise? How are we measuring instruction? So I will, I don't want you to come in and show me a bunch of test scores next year. I want to know, are the teachers getting the kids engaged, and how do we know what the kids are engaged in their learning? So great job.
Thank you.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Sure. So first, I'd say, Ryan, thanks for explaining that a little bit to me.
Yeah, I wondered.
Because so the hard thing for us there is we've never had that presentation that way, right? So we don't really understand it, right? So it makes it hard for us to engage, right? I totally agree with the idea of where you're headed with it, and I don't want to get rid of all the data because I think the data is important, but I think obviously the quality of teaching and how that's affecting kids is the number one thing. That gives us good data, right? So that's great. I just, for me, I would just, this one next time, I'd kind of like to understand it before showing it. Yeah.
I had a couple questions. So on the goal 3 progress data, you had the different with showing the gaps. Yes, for the quality interactions. Did you also have that for the academic rigor section, or is that just for?
No, quality interactions really focus on what kids are saying. And so that's why it's on this one. The academic rigor, it's coming from the teacher, so we don't have the gaps. They're all expected to do this assignment. So we really focus on the quality interactions for the gaps.
Gotcha. And then my other question was about the pilot program for the attendance. Could you give us some more information about that? Tell us how it's going, what your thoughts on that are.
So yeah, we meet with Ross every other week. We look at the data and we pull attendance reports to see which students are improving, and then which students are still struggling to come into school. If they're below us, like if they're not coming to school really at all, we have FACT reach out to them. If they are coming to school, but just not very often, like it's hit or miss, we have my coaches or myself or so on, we will meet with them and check in with them daily just to let them know, like, we're excited you're at school. We have mentoring programs set up with them as well where we, if they come to school for 5 days, they get to go out for an extra little recess, just things to get them motivated to come to school. We also do the forced choice surveys to see what motivates them, because then that gives us an idea of how we can get them to come to the school. That's the important part. We reach out to families all the time as well. My office manager does a really great job of that, of calling, checking in, seeing why they're out of school, reminding them of the reasons. Like many times they'll be like, oh, well, my kid has a runny nose. Well, you can still send your kid with a runny nose. I think we're just trying to be more clear on that. Like there's only a couple of things that make it so they can't come to school now. So we're really communicating that out in our newsletters and our phone calls and just as often as we can with the kids. But we meet and analyze that data, see which students are improving, which students do we need to add to our list, and meet and just see how they're doing every other week.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So another question for me, obviously attendance is a huge deal. So, I mean, obviously we all need to improve that across the board, just not you, but it's huge. We need to get a new mentality of the fact that the kids need to go to school and parents need to understand that, right? And I think we've got away from that, unfortunately. And how do we catch up? The other thing I'm curious about, so your school has quite a few people who are behind academically. How do we, is there a process that you pick out certain kids and recommend them to be part of summer school, or how do we do that?
Yeah, there is a process for that. There's all these guidelines that were set out to see like where they are with different, my coaches did a lot of it, but they were given like a criteria and they go through all of it and see which students need summer school And then those students are referred to it at that point, and we let the parents know. But there's like a whole, that you look at this test, and then you look at and there's all these different reasons. So that we gave those letters out to parents that we felt their child needed to go to summer school at conferences. So we were able to explain it as well.
And just for my own understanding, so you have 240 in your school. How many of those letters goes out?
It depended on the school. I want to say ours was in the high 20s.
Okay, so less than 10% or high 10%. Okay, good.
So just a couple other comments. Thank you, Ryan, for that. I thought that was, I wondered if you were going to say
Yeah.
something, and I appreciate that. The second thing is, this data would not occur without the previous data, right? So it's so important what teachers do in order to guide students into this, where they have to express their ideas. I really appreciate your work to do this. This is your first board presentation, is that correct?
Yeah.
Nice job.
How bad was it?
I wouldn't say I loved it.
Get honest.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Devin.
Thank you. I want to say, I do think the test score data is important. I'm just not sure that in this format, I know that our schools need to come up and show them one at a time, but we should be looking at test score data in a different format is my thought on that. And then when the schools come up, we want to know, what are you doing about it? Meaning, how are you affecting instruction? How are you measuring effective instruction? That's just my thought on the whole thing. But I do think test scores, we do need to keep an eye on. We do need to make sure they're improving. Sure.
Yeah, and I think just the format that we've had, I think that there are not dissimilar actions being done. They are just not being shown here as an emphasis. We'll work on that.
Okay.
All right, we're going to circle back to the audit report. Ms. Jane, would you take it away?
So we have Glenn Kearns and Corey Surratt from Acuity. I'm so appreciative of their work. They agreed to be the auditors for Albany School District.
All right. Well, as Jane said, my name is Glenn Kearns. I'm one of the partners. This is my business partner, Corey. We're here to kind of present the financials, answer any questions you may have. I'm not really going to touch on the numbers too much, really, unless you have questions, because, well, it's a pretty lengthy document. I think we can start charging by the pound. And unfortunately, it's only going to get bigger with all the new standards and stuff coming out. In a nutshell, I think what you as the board probably are concerned about is what the opinion that we offer on the financials, what is it? It is an unmodified opinion, which again this year, which is also known as a clean opinion. That's what you're looking for. What that basically means is that in doing the tests of account balances, transaction cycles, those sorts of things, we didn't find any problems that would, under our professional standards, to modify your opinion or our opinion on the financials for any reason. So again, that's what you're looking for. As part of Oregon law, as well as the federal compliance, obviously the district is large enough and you get such a significant amount of federal funding that in addition to the financial statement audit, we have to do a federal compliance audit in looking at the district's major programs and those sorts of things. And the opinion on the federal compliance section was also clean or unmodified. So again, that's what you're looking for. It basically means that the grant programs are being administered in accordance with federal guidelines and so on and so forth. Under Oregon law, in addition to doing the financial statement side of things, we also have to do some compliance-related testing on certain things like compliance with Oregon budget law and public contracting and some of those sorts of things. There was one non-compliance issue that we noted in the audit. It was a non-compliance with contracting not contracting, budget law, where you exceeded your authorized appropriation in one area. So.
And that happened to be buying buses.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a systemic issue, it was a one-time check.
Yeah, and so it's not anything that we're super concerned about, but the state requires us to either, report that you're in compliance or you're not. It's kind of like being pregnant. Either you are or you're not, right? So nothing that we saw that was really a major issue on that side of things. There were, in doing the testing and analysis of controls and some of those sorts of things, there were a few things that came up in doing the testing, and they are flagged and identified in the report that accompanies the financial statements. In talking with management and with Jane and kind of going through subsequent transaction cycles and so forth, it appears that those issues have already been addressed and corrected in this current fiscal year. We obviously, when we come in to do the testing for the current fiscal year, we'll reevaluate and kind of look in those same areas to see if we're seeing some of the same things, and if we are, we'll readdress it at that point. But based on the testing and the conversations and things that we have with staff, it's not anything at this point that we are super concerned about. So I didn't know if anyone had any specific questions about any of either the financial statements themselves or the findings that were noted.
I'd basically just say that, so what you're telling us, the numbers that we're looking at in the books that Jane provides us, you found those to be accurate?
Yes,
And so we know that we're working with valid data.
correct. Way to go, Jane.
It's always good, especially as you're in budget season, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're heading into a new fiscal path, and we need to make sure that we know where we've been and it's accurate. So I appreciate that.
Right.
So as we finish this business year, we will then audit and turn in an audit on time this year. That's where we're planning.
Yeah, and obviously, the reason that the audit is so late or so delayed is really related to our ability to get in and do the field work based on when the contract was vetted and those sorts of things. But in addition to that, we were kind of put in a holding pattern for a period of time, really, because of the prior year's audit not being finalized even by the time we came in to do field work. And so even though we were here in December doing testing, we had to put the brakes on things because the financial statements for the year ended June of '22 hadn't yet been finalized and issued. And so we couldn't be confident that the carryover balances and so forth that we were seeing were accurate and so forth, because the copies of the financial statements that we had were only really in draft form and were not truly the final copies.
Well, and the bigger part of that was your prior audit firm hadn't done the federal compliance piece, which you as a district can't start. We as an audit firm have to start it. And so that was the biggest piece that was missing. And we couldn't move forward without that being completed. So luckily your admin team applied some pressure and made it happen, and we appreciate that. So back to journal entries. We only had 4 journal entries, which is phenomenal for a first-year audit especially. So
Well, especially
we just finished
given-
one that had 17.
Yeah, especially given a district of this size. I mean, it is not unusual to have, 10, 15, 20, sometimes journal entries when you're dealing with the volume of transactions and things that a district of this size has. So, Jane's done a great job in trying to come in and get things cleaned up and get processes tweaked and all that kind of stuff. And I think you'll just continue to see those improvements as time goes by.
You'll recall when we sought them as, at the same time, wanting to get to this firm is local.
Right.
But they had clients they already had, and so it's kind of a trajectory to get on a normal schedule here. And the things that Glenn was mentioning that kind of slowed them down to get started, kind of made this a little later than I think we previously intended, but they were beyond their control. And we should be looking like a normal district.
So going forward, what is the normal timeframe we would see this?
Well, so typically, I mean, obviously under Oregon law, you're supposed to have your financials completed and submitted to both the Department of Education and the Secretary of State by the 31st of December. I don't see any reason why that isn't going to be a viable option this year. And we're hoping that we'll be able to get in and get field work done so that we can get you financials well in advance of that. I think typically you're probably ready late September, early October timeframe, which means if we can get in then, we try to operate on about an 8-week turnaround from when we finish field work to getting financials issued and so forth. So that should put us well in advance of that December 31st submission deadline.
When do we get our final numbers from the state? I mean, we provide the numbers, but how many students we have obviously depends on how many, that's a big deal for our budget. Or is that not part of it? I mean, I assume it has to be.
We do have a funding, finalization. Is that second quarter in January, February?
Yes. Usually that's in March.
Okay, so I guess that's confusing me. So we put out our budget before we even know how much money we have.
Well,
No, normally
Okay.
we have that from the Department of Education by March. They were later this year because they were waiting on districts to submit their data. But we do have that.
And it all really isn't trued up.
Right.
So we are in the 23-24 year. It really isn't trued up till the spring of 25, and you get an adjustment after all the audits are put in. So it's,
wow.
there's always a little bit of,
It's a best guess in many ways.
just tracking the numbers. And I just want to make sure that we don't pass this moment without just, again, recognizing Jane for the work. So someone has to be here and begin to make sense.
Yep.
So that an auditor can come in, they give us great suggestions, they find things. But Jane has done a massive amount of work to move us this far in, what, a year and 8 months? So, nice job. Thank you guys for coming on board.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't think they would come if she wasn't here.
It made a big difference, yes.
Yeah, it is definitely easier coming into an engagement when you're working with a known quantity. And obviously, we'd worked with Jane and Eddie both with former districts and so forth. So it's, they kind of know our work style and so forth and vice versa. Because in a first year engagement, a lot of times we're training your staff kind of as much as they're sort of training us in processes and procedures and so forth. And there was a big portion of that learning curve which we didn't have to worry about because we already kind of knew how Jane worked and how Andy worked, and that really helped streamline the process a bit and helped us get things done quicker than we probably would have been able to.
I agree, Glenn. I don't think another firm would have been able to do that because you are organized and I know what you expect. And all your documentation was there, very timely. So you made it possible, so I appreciate it.
You and your staff did a lot of work to get us to be able to audit though.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like Andy said.
Job.
And one thing I just kind of want to make clear is just because we've, worked with Jane and Andy in the past and they kind of know how we work, that doesn't mean that they know exactly what we're going to look at or really how we're going to look at, because under both professional standards and under our firm standards, we're required to switch up how we approach an audit and switch up staffing periodically. So there are certain things that we look at every year, but how we look at those and the way we go about testing is different. And we do that by design because, to be honest, we want to keep staff on their toes because when you do the exact same things the exact same way every year, that's when unfortunate things can sometimes happen. So.
I just think, and you've said it, and I mean, since Rob was here, I mean, the amount of fiscal accountability we have is huge. I mean, it's a big step forward. So it sounds like next year will be exactly where we want to be. And it took 2.5, 3 years to get there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bet.
Well, and if you come across questions or something comes up, obviously you know where to find us. We're not too far away.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Moving on to item I1, personnel classified. Seeking a motion.
To approve personnel classified as presented.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Old business, J1, school support fee. Mr. Gardner.
You'll recall that the county has asked us to approve through a resolution an enterprise zone, and I believe that it's a partner of Millersburg as well and also extends into the county. We had an option to go as low as 15% on the clawback portion of that. That is a property tax return. We could have gone as high as 30. We are at the lower end. It is an incentive that will allow businesses to invest, and I recommend that we approve it.
I move to approve the Lynn County and City of Millersburg school support fee at 15% as presented.
A second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? J2, Board Policy EBBC, Life Sustaining Emergency Care.
So this policy, I was a little mixed up when I talked about it at the last meeting. This gives our staff who are trained in first aid and CPR the ability to respond with emergency life-sustaining care until an emergency personnel arrives to a situation. This is mostly end-of-life directives, the ability of our staff to give it despite those. Recommend to pass.
Any questions for the superintendent? Seeking a motion?
I'll move that we approve the policy.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Board Policy LBE, Public Charter Schools.
So this is a result of several bills which now show in one policy related to charter schools. Currently, this district does not have a charter school. It basically governs how many students we release to online charter schools who are residents of the district. 3%, it calls for us now to at least 2 times per year to calculate where we are against that 3%, right? So we have to go to the effort to determine enrollment, determine homeschool, all who reside within our boundaries. Then, that becomes the denominator for the numerator, which is the number of kids that are leaving our district. Currently, we're slightly over. We would also, I think, to effect that, we would need to offer a second option for online schooling, whether it be a second curriculum that we would pay for or whatever. So currently, that is just a natural occurrence, not us limiting it. It's a little bit over 3%, not significantly. The other portions there are, interestingly, a student who has been enrolled at an online charter school, if they moved here, does not need to seek our permission. They would continue in the online charter school. And then finally, oddly, a charter school in another district could set up a charter school here, brick and mortar, if they did 2 things. They got permission from the district that they are currently in and simply notified this district before the first day. So that could occur, I guess, the day before. Hey, we're going to open a school. But we have not seen, to my knowledge, charter schools in this area other than the online. We do have students that are leaving our district to attend online schools in Paisley, Baker, all places on the map.
So this just limits this basically sets a maximum for us of 3% that can do this, or we can tell them
It
no?
gives us the right to do that, but
Right.
prior to doing that, we would have to prove that 3% of our kids and more are outside of the district.
And up until now, we haven't really been figuring that.
We have calculated that. I don't know that we calculated twice a year.
Moves
Yeah.
to twice.
So these are a reflection of new law, is essentially what this policy is.
So there's a couple of portions of it that were highlighted. Is that the changes to it, or was there something special about the highlighted portions that we received?
I think that's new language.
That's the new
Okay.
language.
Any other questions? Seeking a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the policy.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, hang on just a second. Having a slight technical difficulty. There we go. Okay, K1 staffing report. Ms.
So-
Orsword.
I hope that, Susie, this is exactly what you wanted. Thank you.
Oh.
James passing you around a packet of all of our certified and classified staff in the district. And you'll be able to, after the title page, you'll be able to see how many licensed staff we have at each school, and then at the district office, and at our FACT program and our SPED programs, and then you'll see that we have a total licensed FTE of 608.175. Remember, this isn't people, this is total staffing. So a full-time licensed staff member is a 1.0. And so this was a project with the business department and human resources together. And once again, Jane's staff, Elisa and Sarah, just amazing and put together this for us. And then Nancy and Chris checked it, and we both made sure that it was all correct for you. And then if you notice, you'll be able to see every school in the district, and if they have licensed special program staff at their school, as well as you'll be able to see how many of each grade level and how much FTE everybody has. And you'll be able to see that for every school building. And I can tell you that everybody worked really hard on getting it for you, and I hope this is what you wanted. And then the classified staff FTE, you will see again, we showed you how much classified FTE. And remember, in the FTE, if you divided it, if you took the FTE, you divided it by 8, you would see how many hours that people work. And again, custodial, district office, our ELL, our FACT, our food service, our physical plant, technology, transportation, special programs again. And you will be able to see that we have a total of 597.7045 classified FTE. And you'll be able to see every building, and then again, you'll be able to see food service. And I just thought that it would be something that you were asking for, I hope, Pete and Brad and the board, if this is what you were hoping to get. Questions?
Well, I have a couple, but they're not necessarily bad. They're just so, I look at that and I see everything I want to see, but I also don't want it to be a huge bit of work. So, is it a huge bit of work?
It was a huge bit of work, but it was really good for us. Because what it did is made sure that the business department and the HR department had the exact same staff members, and that we knew exactly how many hours they were working, how much FTE they had. And so it was good for us. And now we're gonna keep it up to date, because what you don't understand is things change
Sure, this is a snapshot.
weekly and daily, yes. Things have changed since we put this together, right? But at the same time, it was really good for us to
I would
do.
assume it helps you really see what's going on, and you're like, oh my God, this school has too many, or this one has too few, or.
Absolutely, and that's what we're doing right now, so it was perfect timing, because what we're doing is we're looking at staffing ratios, and we're looking to see our grade levels, and at the elementary, we no longer do any splits where first and second grade are in the same classroom, and so we really look at, okay, so how many first grade classrooms do we need? How many third grade, fourth grade? And then at the upper levels in middle and high, we're looking at FTE. And do we have enough FTE for the number of students we have to have a full schedule? And so this was really, really good timing for us, because we're really looking at our enrollment and projections, because as you know, that we're going to be in the second year of the biennium, and it's tight. So it was a really good time for us to do it, and I think that doing it every year about around this time and then another time in the fall. If we could get to those where we give you a complete snapshot. Questions?
I just can't wait to dig into it. So I'm not going to be able to go through the whole thing right now, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
I wanted to give it to you in a packet
Yep.
form.
Yeah.
So you could look at it instead of on the computer screen, so you couldn't compare, you
Right.
know, side by side or.
I mean, for me, I think it answers all the questions I have and it kind of, but I would hope that now that you've done it, it's easier to do it. You know, maybe not. I don't know.
I think that we're gonna get better and better at it, and it was really good for us. It took a lot of time
Yeah.
for Sarah and for Elisa, and then Chris and Nancy went through and double checked with all of our information, and we were pleasantly surprised that, and we needed to learn how to do it. To be honest with you, we have a new staff and in HR, and it was really good for us to learn from Lisa and Sarah and our departments. Jane has been a really good mentor, and our departments are working together, and it's helping us keep accurate records and make fewer and fewer mistakes. So.
Go ahead.
Just the quick purview for me, I think it answers everything I have. And also it's a back check when they present or something. I mean, I like it, but I also don't want it to be this huge noose that, you know, it has to be a positive thing for all.
And it was good. So thank you. And thanks for being patient with us.
Awesome.
Excellent work.
Yeah,
I really like the format. It's very clear and easy to
Yeah.
understand. Kudos to your staff for putting this together, and I think this is going to be a tool that'll go forward with us for a long time, that we'll be able to utilize and get a good snapshot of where we're at and how is our staffing lined out.
Yeah, and I agree. And I can show you staffing ratios in the future too, so you can see from school to school. And Ryan spent a lot of time doing that as he staffed our SPED programs at each school. And it's a lot to make sure that we're being fair and equitable across the district.
That shows.
Anything else?
Good work. Thanks for the paper. I used to have to do this by hand, so it's a huge pain. And then, yeah, like they were saying, I hope you've created a system that'll feed it for you and not have to do it from scratch every year, so.
Yeah, we learned, thanks to Jane and her staff, and I think it was really good for us, so.
Right.
Is that it? All right, moving on to Integrated Guidance Quarterly Report. Mr. Bullen.
Yes, this is a required report from the state to go to the board and the public and be posted on our website. So last week I put in the packet the excerpts from my presentation to you earlier this year of just explaining each of the 5 programs in integrated guidance, and then the spending expenses that went along with that up through December 31. And that's what they call the first 2 quarters. Our plan is being implemented as presented to you prior. The expenses are tracking along as well. And that's all I have, unless you have some questions.
Anybody have any questions at this time? Okay. No bond business tonight, so we're into new business. M1, audit approval. So there's let's see,
This is just where you would approve the audit as presented to you.
I'll move if we approve the audit as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Just had a clarifying thing. During it says deficiency number 1, and then number 2 also says deficiency number 1. Is that addressing the same issue, or is it?
Yes, it was.
Okay, sweet.
Any other discussion?
You got a solution for the gift card thing, right? Okay. Perfect.
We're still working on that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? M2, Board Policy IGDJ, Interscholastic Activities.
So these are the first readings. You can see here that Senate Bill 1522 has modified the term General Education Development, or GED, to be referred to as high school equivalency, which was further defined to mean a program provided to assist a student in earning a certificate for passing an approved high school equivalency test, such as the GED test. It is also designated that school districts need to adopt a policy with conditions of membership when entering into an agreement with a voluntary organization for interscholastic activities. You can see that in the attached policy. And then finally, there's new policy to put form to what we must do when we deny a student who doesn't apply to attend a virtual public charter school. And you can see that there is the need to calculate our 3%. We also have 10 calendar days of receiving a request from the parent. And the intent to enroll, we must, within 10 days, inform them that we are not allowing them to. Finally, there's another piece there at the bottom, non-virtual charter school. This exempts schools in operation prior to the effective date of the new law. So if a charter school somewhere else actually had one here now, it would be able to continue to exist. So much of it is just about the above policy. And these, again, are first reads.
You just summarized all three, if I'm correct, what I was following through, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. Gentlemen, we reached that happy point in the meeting where I would entertain a motion to go home. I think we've got everything done.
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is suspended.